Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 11 of the anime series Gangsta. And man, this was all kinds of insane, just sheer insanity. These hunters wreaking havoc across this city, but most notably pinpointed on the Paul Klee Guild, handing everybody their asses, these tags of renown with such abilities that they apparently matched with. But they're all psycho. They're absolutely psycho. I was gobsmacked by the level of death and blood spilled in this episode. And to see that certain of these ramifications have spilled over into characters we've actually been following. Doug meets his end, and apparently there was, something of a friendship or a bond between he and Galahad, which, that's interesting to me. I kind of wish we had a little more foreshadowing of that effect. Seeing him kind of lying to him a little bit, like the threat is over. We chased away the hunters. Everything's okay. I'm fine. You can go in peace. I'll hold on to these tags. We'll be following along with you soon. And just, it was bittersweet, even though, Doug is not that well familiar a character. But he's a character that I have enjoyed. I really liked him. I liked his interactions with Nico. Nico kind of being like affable about it. Like, who's this kid? And even after he's met him and fought with him, he's like, who's this kid? He doesn't remember him. Or he's playing around with him. But that's it. Doug's gone, And just the sheer magnitude of this group, these Edmonettes, as they're calling themselves, working for Corsica, that revelation getting very much under the skin of Gina when they attack, and Gina's just been sleeping through this whole thing. Found it very interesting in bed with Ginger as well. Okay, that's cool. But they're like it's their lazy day Sunday as this is going on, and Gina could care less. She's like, take 50 lives in this cesspool. What do I care? It's not going to get under my skin. I'm going back to bed when confronted with this. But I love that we get to see on display once again Ginger's badassery when you got one of these hunters coming up with a blade or whatever, and she intervenes and blocks the shot. Not only that, she breaks the blade as she's lunging in front of Gina and everything, sir, whatever. But again, the sheer magnitude, and that Emilio is involved with this. And there's that stark contrast between the fact that he is following these orders and he's actually having to try to rein in some of the other hunters who want to get at Gina now and everything. There's been verbal jousting going back and forth between the two factions, and these hunters want to get at her now, but he ends up throwing like an explosive up there. He's like, look, we're not supposed to do this. It's too early in the plan, So Emilio's dialing back these hunters. It's just like, whoa, but then again, the contrast in that Alex is over on the other side of the city or whatever, and she's most concerned about the well-being of this tagged child, this baby, and Loretta lets her know that, hey, we actually have foster parents who can take this child in. It's going to be okay. It's going to be safe. And in that moment when she's happy, it's like happy tears in a sense, she goes looking down at this child. We found a place for you. You'll be all right. Emilio. She remembers in that moment her brother's name. She couldn't even remember her brother's name until now. And this completely just sets off that trauma again. You see her bedridden for like that moment on as Loretta gets word of what's going on with this attack. And, she's basically going to be getting out of there and everything. And it's just, again, the death being reaped in this episode. So many tags, so many, tags that are just trying to go about their lives are being slaughtered ruthlessly just for the fact that that's what they are by other people who have the same kind of abilities and no restrictions apparently and all that kind of stuff. It is a magnificent tragedy. And I'm looking at all of these hunters, and as I said when we were first debuted to their looks and the designs of them, they look like something out of Black Rock Shooter. They look all kinds of badass, and it's like, I don't want to root for them though. Like, as badass as they are, they're all kind of crazy. It's kind of like that, Joker versus Batman thing. Joker's one of my all-time favorite, if not my all-time favorite supervillain in comic book history, but I enjoy and I like both, and it's like that shades of gray. Like, I hate what these characters, these hunters, are doing, but at the same time, it's kind of badass the way they look and the way they're throwing down. You know, it's a conflict internally to see this unfolding, because it's just all kinds of bad. It's being unfolded, you know, within this realm. And of course, we see that, like, this coincides with Yang and Deli. They're deciding to kind of take it of their own accord to sneak out and try to track down Erica and everything. And they're actually, you know, showing photographs of them as children and stuff. I love the bond there. I love that we're, you know, in this episode, we're seeing the bonds of the background characters. We're not just focusing on, you know, I mean, Nico and Warwick, they were absent in this entire episode, with the exception of seeing Nico briefly, I think. But we're focusing much more on these surrounding characters that are very intriguing in their own right. We had much of that in the previous episode, you know, between Connie and Marco, and it seems like that just took a turn for the worse by the end of this. But again, Yang and Deli. Yang will not let Deli go on his own, because they grew up in that, I guess it's an orphanage together, and when Erica was kidnapped, they both harbor their own guilt over that, over not being able to help her and protect her and save her and keep her from being taken. And now that she's taken such a brainwashed turn for the worse, she's murderous and bloodthirsty and, you know, basically killing fellow tags and such like that, they feel responsible mutually. So they go together. I love that bond between them. And of course, they stumble into this little girl who has like a wounded leg, whose younger sister was actually murdered by Erica at Club Bastard. She was trying to track down her sister, what have you. And the unfortunate situation of this little girl, Tag Heather, it's just like, man, there's so much heartbreak going on. You know, and as I say, I mean, toward the end, of course, you have Marco trying desperately to track Connie down once they've split ways, once she has given them refurbished, you know, rounds of ammunition and weapons and such, and some sweet words pass between them. She goes on her way, and of course, the shop is closed, and one of these hunters is looking for some cigarettes, and somehow, I don't know whether it was tipped via the dialogue of what Connie was saying about, you know, somehow sympathizing with the Paul-Klee Guild and such, but this hunter says something about smelling, you know, getting a whiff of the old man or something like that, someone she once knew. And when he gets to that little shop, he finds her hat and she's gone. And he knows these hunters, or at least some of them. He knows the dude with the silver hair and the tattoo that Warwick ran into. He knows this woman who apparently has made off with Connie, for better or worse. I'm assuming it's leaning toward the worse. And I'm just like not happy that the tragedy is yet to ensue as we get into this finale episode next week. It's just like the madness contained within this episode, the lethality, the murdering, the blood spillage, and really seeing these background characters who have stories coinciding with the unfolding stories of Alex, Nico, and Warwick respectively. To see them given such depth is welcoming, but at the same time, to see how much tragedy is now befalling them all mutually, it just you know, tests my own sort of resolve and hope for these characters. And I can only hope for the best, but I think this is just the beginning of the end as we move on from here. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 11 of Gangsta, if you've seen it, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, as much as all the gobsmacking insanity was going on in it. I still found it compelling and enjoyable to watch. But I mean, that's what you want. You want to be moved and so drawn to these characters that you truly feel for them in their, you know, whatever the negative circumstances surrounding them are. And that's very much at the forefront of my emotions watching this unfold. And yeah, otherwise we can agree to disagree. If you, you know, didn't enjoy it as much as I did, or if you found any problems with it, let me know in the comments below. Love having the conversation back and forth with you guys. And so yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.